Good day everyone, so this is a tier list that is all about Kokomi and which units work really well with her. So this is not a meta tier list, this is not about strength or power or any of that nonsense. This is just simply answering the question which characters work well with Kokomi, and obviously the degree to which they work well with Kokomi is encapsulated by the different tiers here. So obviously right at the top I feel like these characters have a very high natural synergy with Kokomi. What's in their kits and their passive talents and so on like really works well with Kokomi's kit, and that's why I sort of placed them at the top, and also they work well on the field together. The other A tier here is characters that I feel don't really have that much synergy in terms of passive talents and other sort of things in their kit, but if you pair them with Kokomi, they work so well. I'll explain a bit more of those. The sort of ancillary sort of tier to this is the B plus tier, where I feel like these units work well with Kokomi, but you need to pair them with other units to really sort of make it work. So for instance, with Xiangling here, you might think, well, Kokomi and Xiangling, not really the best duo, but the moment you put Fischl and Sucrose there, well, hey, you've got Sukokomon, and it works. The other B tier here is where Kokomi pretty much works with these characters, but it's more of a one-sided relationship. The C tier here is where you don't really have any synergy. I feel like these characters, mostly because they take a lot of on-field time, or they've just got like completely different kits and so on, won't work with Kokomi. So for instance, Bennett heals, there's no real synergy there, but it's not really an anti-synergy. You can still put a Kokomi and a Bennett on the same team and make it work, but yeah. An anti-synergy would be something like Hu Tao, where you don't want Kokomi and Hu Tao because Hu Tao wants low health for the additional attack bonus. You don't want Kokomi and Barbara because all of the excess healing, and the fact that the one will steal the other one's like Ocean Newt Clam healing, so your output in terms of damage from your Ocean Newt Clam set is just not there. And obviously Goro and Kokomi. Goro is also a healer. He provides defense. You don't need any of that with a Juggernaut like Kokomi, who's got like a large health pool. So yeah, that's sort of my classification of the tiers. So let me just quickly go over some notable things that I just want to point out, and then that'll then be it for the video. So starting off, we obviously have Nahida here. I'm not going to explain it because the character's not out, so just wait until next week. And then we obviously have Shenhe and Rosaria here. The natural synergy is so good. Both of these have an off-field cryo or AoE-wide cryo application. This works really well with Kokomi and Freeze teams, and of course C6 Rosaria and Shenhe can straight physical resistance, which means Kokomi's Ocean Newt Clam bubbles hit the enemies harder, especially in a wide AoE. That Ocean Newt Clam damage can actually add up to be quite significant, especially against multiple enemies, so I definitely love it. It's a very great synergy between Kokomi and these two. Yelan, obviously if you pair Kokomi and Yelan, you've got the ultimate Juggernaut duo. The one keeps you very well like alive because you've got a very high excessive health pool. It's much better than Xingshu's damage reduction because both you have active healing and high health pool and interruption resistance from Kokomi when she's on the field. It just works well. And obviously Kokomi is a normal attacker, so she triggers all of Yelan's attacks. Yelan ramps up Kokomi's damage, and obviously together with the Ocean Newt Clam set, you just have a very strong duo, especially if you pair them with an anima unit that can also reduce the opponent's resistance. So Kokomi, Yelan, absolutely love it. Sucrose, Kokomi, I think it's a very noticeable thing to mention. There's so many teams where Sucrose and Kokomi themselves, even though they themselves don't have that much synergy, if it's just the two of them, just the interaction effect that they can provide with so many of the other reactions just make them such an invaluable pair. Obviously it's the same with Kazuha. I like the Fischl pairing as well, not just for Sukokomon, but like with Fischl and the Eye here, you've got characters that are once again off-field, and Kokomi being a character that you can use for DPS purposes on-field, just works like so well, and obviously with a bit of electro charge. Dendro MC, kind of obvious. Ayaka, the synergies are very obvious there, although Ayaka does not really provide that much to Kokomi, but Kokomi obviously TDS, Thrilling Tales, we all know how that works. Kokomi and Ganyu work surprisingly well. It's a surprisingly comfy team, especially like in fridge teams and so on. The big AoE wide freeze and obviously like Hydro, it just synergizes well. Kokomi and Xingshu can synergize to some degree, although you do see the lack of offensiveness compared to Yelan, but certainly Xingshu helping to battery Kokomi and so on. And Kokomi obviously being the on-field driver in a lot of the taser teams, where if you want to put Xingqiu in there as well, it really does work. Some of the Kokomi banner team comps that I love running, but that's just me, also features Xingqiu, so it's kind of cool. Layla, not going to speak about her because she's obviously not out yet. And yeah, I mean, the rest of these characters, I'm not going to go into too much detail, but this is just why I think these characters work well with Kokomi. And obviously, as a big final surprise, the character that brings out Kokomi's full potential has got to be Nilo. I mean, I did cover this in a video, but everything that Nilo brings with her unique playstyle, obviously in the bountiful cores and so on, works so well with Kokomi. You get the full potential of healing, of being an on-field driver, of helping sort of trigger the bountiful cores with Nilo, with constellations. Obviously, Nilo gives like an almost equivalent VV shred to Kokomi to just smack the enemies. The range damage that works well with Nilo when you want to hit enemies that are far but are still afflicted by Dendro. I mean, it's just Nilo brings out the full potential of Kokomi. I think she's the first character that does it so successfully, all the aspects, healing, damage, and I think it's Nilo quite deservedly deserves her own tier because I just love it. Nilo and Kokomi, it's just so good. But yeah, that is it for this tier list, guys. No gameplay today, probably back tomorrow, and thank you so much for watching. And if you don't have Nilo, get Nilo with your Kokomi. It's so good. Cheers.